Hello, friends. This is a story written by me. This story is called A Bird Story. So, now let us listen to it. Why do you spend a part of your salary on birds? Said my nephew, Arav, a 14-year-old bright young kid. Because I like to do so. It gives me pleasure, I replied in a casual manner. But it looks like more than taking pleasure in it, Arav said, after giving it some thought. How can you say that? I said with a curiosity in my tone. I added further, are you good in the art of deduction? I said it because I think the amount you spend on this venture hints it to be more than a hobby of yours. And I can see the feeling of satisfaction on your face every time you tell me about it. So there has got to be more to it. Arav said these words as if he were a detective digging deeper into his case. I smiled and tried to downplay his observation, which was to the point. The boy sure had a sense of things and people around him. But he presented before me some instances supporting his theory, which I couldn't refuse to admit. At last I said, okay, Mr. Byomkesh Bakshi, I give up. It seems that I will have to tell you now. He said, all right, uncle, I'm all ears. This story begins when I was almost as old as you are now. I was just as inquisitive a kid as you are now, filled with a sense of exploration and adventure. I began. Aro nodded his head, as if he already understood my state back at the time. He nodded in approval, signaling me to carry on. I continued. In that spirit of exploration, I was a bit careless too. Most of the times it was okay, and I had no major trouble. But sometimes I got in a trouble with my parents or friends. But none of the incidents stuck with me like the incident which I am about to tell you. It had a deep impact in shaping the way I am. The way you are? What could be so moving? Arav said with a big curious face. I answered, let me tell you, some incidents, especially in our childhood, leave a deep impression on us. These incidents sometimes might seem small or of not much consequence, but they leave an indelible mark on your soul. They mold your soul. I'm sure that you have had your share of at least one incident by now. That's completely true, uncle. I can realize what you said Arav with a sense of satisfaction. He then quickly added, but what happened? I am coming to that. I said these words, now ready to reveal the incident, all of it in almost one go. There was this hollow of enough depth in the old house where I used to live. This hollow was above a door in the veranda. It was an ideal place for a bird to nest. And then one day, a sparrow couple made its nest in it. I used to observe how the sparrows would chirrup, as if very happy to find a place to start their lives. I too was joyed, and they talked in their encrypted calls, toiling all the day to assemble twigs, feathers, husk, and what not to make a comfortable nest. I wondered who taught them that. I wondered in amazement the way nature works. It was all good and wonderful. With these words, I drifted to those times. Then Arav interrupted, as if to break my trance. Oh, yes, a few days passed, and I observed that the sparrow limited their activities. Then, one day, after I returned from the school, I heard some voices coming from the hollow. These were the voices of tiny sparrow chicks. I guessed they were two in number. How nice to hear all of this. Then, uncle, Arav said with a delight. Then, my sense of exploration got the better of me. Was it my curiosity to know the number of chicks, or was it how they looked? I don't know. But I do know that the next thing I remembered was my hand inside the hollow. I reached for the nest and felt three chicks inside the nest. I took them out one by one. Bare bodied, without their feathers, their pink underdeveloped bodies were shivering. The sparrows were outside for some time, so I took the liberty to put the chicks on the floor for a while. I wondered at their looks. It was for the first time I saw a chick in the development phase. It all seemed like a play to me, delightful and all, you know. In a few minutes, the sparrows came back and hovered around. They started to shout as if I was really going to harm the chicks. I got a little nervous. I could feel the tension in their shrieks. The shouts only got louder. Then, in a hurry, I decided to put back the chicks in their place. I continued, looking back at Arrow, as if he had a hint of something dreadful about to happen in my anecdote. And he was right, of course. Unmindful of my surroundings, and as if pressurized by the sparrows, I hurriedly put back two of the chicks one by one. At some distance, there was this cat. She might have been out there at that place for a while, but there was no way for me to know. As I put the second one back and got down to fetch the third back, the cat jumped before I could reach the last chick. She grabbed the chick in her mouth and at the same time startled me. She ran away. It was obvious to me by now that the cat wouldn't have spared the chick. It was lost, gone, dead now. I quickly composed myself, and in vain I ran after her, chasing her away. I was angry at the cat, ashamed of myself, felt sorry for the hapless poor sparrows, but nothing could be done by then. Then I understood why the sparrows got frantic a few moments ago when everything was going according to the plan. Too much for a plan, huh? I ended telling the event with a scorn directed at me. Aro was a bit shocked. He said, "That is not good to hear. The way you have described it, I can feel the pain and a sense of remorse in your story. But how does it relate to your current position?" I replied, "It is not a big secret that anybody in my position could have been less remorseful afterwards. But it was more than that. In the night, I had a terrible dream about this incident. In the dream, the weeping birds asked me to bring their chick back. They were full of tears, full of anger, full of distrust towards the human race. I couldn't remember the whole dream though. I saw myself transform into a chick, the same pink bodied sparrow chick. I was able to see the parent sparrows flying over me. I saw a giant hand coming towards to grab me. And then, suddenly, I saw a monstrous figure prancing on me. It had big, white, sharp teeth. I could feel the monster's breath. And before I could understand what hit me, I woke up. The dream was over. I woke up partly relieved, partly afraid, but most of all feeling ashamed and guilty. And from that day on, I took a vow to compensate the sparrows for my foolish misadventure. I vowed to atone for my act, though I knew I wouldn't be able to replace the lost check. And from that day onward, in different ways, I have tried to do the same and help birds in any capacity I can afford to. And this act of mine is the continuation of that vow. After talking about this incident, I took a sigh of relief. My nephew got his answer and was content. Then I strolled outside my apartment with him. We reached to a small birdhouse which was nested by a pigeon. I started to replace the water in the bowl nearby, and my nephew was more than happy to help. The end.